The German Shepherd lunged without warning. One moment Mr. Peterson was waving hello from his porch. The next he was on the ground, screaming as Rex's jaws clamped down on his arm. Officer Martinez couldn't believe what she was seeing. Rex had never attacked an innocent person, ever, but as Peterson's sleeve tore away, something metallic clattered to the sidewalk, something that made Martinez's blood run cold. It was a syringe. The morning had started like any other Tuesday in Millbrook Heights. Officer Sarah Martinez was making her rounds with Rex, her canine partner of 4 years. The suburban neighborhood was picture perfect. White picket fences, manicured lawns, and children's bicycles scattered on driveways. It was the kind of place where the biggest crime was usually a stolen newspaper or someone forgetting to leash their dog. Rex had always been exceptional at his job. The 5-year-old German Shepherd had a success rate that made other canine units jealous. Drug busts, missing persons, even explosive detection. Rex never missed. But more importantly, he had an uncanny ability to read people. Martinez had learned to trust his instincts completely, even when they didn't make sense to her human brain. That's why when Rex started acting strange around Mr. Peterson 3 weeks ago, Martinez should have paid closer attention. It began with subtle signs. Rex would slow down whenever they passed the Peterson house. His ears would perk up, and he'd stare at the front windows with an intensity that made Martinez uncomfortable. When Mr. Peterson would wave from his garden or call out a friendly greeting, Rex would position himself between Martinez and the neighbor, hackles slightly raised. "Easy boy," Martinez would say, tugging the leash gently. "Mr. Peterson's one of the good guys," and he seemed to be. David Peterson had moved to Millbrook Heights 8 months ago, taking the house that had sat empty for 2 years. He was in his early 40s, soft-spoken, and immediately became the neighborhood's favorite resident. He volunteered to help elderly Mrs. Chen with her groceries. He organized a block party for the 4th of July. Kids loved him because he always had candy in his pockets and knew magic tricks that made quarters disappear behind their ears. But Rex saw something different. The behavior escalated over the weeks. Rex would whine when they approached Peterson's street. During their evening patrols, he'd pull toward the house, nose working overtime, as if tracking a scent that Martinez couldn't detect. She started avoiding that route, thinking maybe Rex was picking up on some territorial dog in the area or reacting to a new cleaning product Peterson might be using. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The crisis began at 6:47 a.m. on October 15th. Martinez was responding to a missing child report when her radio crackled with an update that made her stomach drop. Not one child, three. 3 kids from different families, all reported missing within the past hour. 7-year-old Tommy Brennan from Oak Street, 9-year-old Lisa Rodriguez from Maple Avenue, and 6-year-old Jake Sullivan from Pine Road. All 3 streets were within a 4-block radius of each other. All 3 children had been playing in their front yards before dawn broke, which was unusual, and all 3 families had received anonymous calls claiming their children were safe and would be returned soon. Martinez felt Rex tense in the passenger seat as they drove toward the command center being set up at the community center. The dog's ears were forward, and he was making a low whining sound she'd never heard before. "I know, boy," she murmured. "We're going to find them." The FBI had already been called in. Agent Torres, a woman with steel gray eyes and 20 years of experience, was coordinating the search efforts. The command center was chaos. Parents crying, volunteers organizing search parties, and officers trying to piece together a timeline. "We think we're dealing with a coordinated abduction," Torres explained to the assembled team. "The calls to the families suggest someone wants us to know the children are alive, which could be good or bad. Either they're planning to return them, or they're buying time." Martinez raised her hand. "Any witnesses?" "Security cameras. Working on it," Torres replied. "But here's the strange part. We do have one witness. A neighbor who claims he saw a suspicious van in the area around the time of the disappearances. He's being very helpful, says he wants to do whatever he can to bring the kids home safely." Martinez felt Rex shift beside her. The dog had gone completely still, the way he did when he was about to alert on something important. "Who's the witness?" Martinez asked, though something in her gut already knew the answer. "David Peterson. Lives on Elm Street. Says he was out walking early and saw a dark van with no license plates driving slowly through the neighborhood. He's agreed to work with our sketch artist." Rex stood up abruptly, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Every officer in the room turned to look at the dog. Martinez put a calming hand on his head, but Rex remained rigid, staring toward the door. "Sorry," Martinez said quickly. "He's just picking up on the tension in the room." But that wasn't it, and she knew it. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Search teams combed through parks, abandoned buildings and wooded areas. The FBI set up roadblocks and issued an Amber Alert. Martinez and Rex were assigned to canvass the neighborhood, interviewing residents and searching for any clue that might lead to the missing children. It was during this canvass that they found themselves back on Peterson Street. "Let's talk to Mr. Peterson again," Martinez's partner, Officer Jackson, suggested. Maybe he remembered something else about that van. Rex's reaction was immediate and violent. The dog lunged forward, nearly pulling Martinez off her feet. His barking was sharp and aggressive, unlike anything she'd heard from him before. It wasn't his alert bark or his play bark, it was pure aggression. "Rex, heel," Martinez commanded, but the dog ignored her completely. His eyes were locked on Peterson's house, where the man himself was walking down his front steps, apparently coming to greet them. "Officers," Peterson called out with a warm smile. "Any updates on those poor children? I've been so worried." That's when Rex lost control. The German shepherd broke free from Martinez's grip with a strength that surprised her. He crossed the lawn in 3 bounds and launched himself at Peterson, who barely had time to raise his arms before 80 pounds of muscle and fury slammed into him. "Rex, no!" Martinez screamed, running toward them as Peterson fell backward onto his porch steps. Off, but Rex wasn't listening. His jaws had clamped down on Peterson's left arm, and he was shaking his head, the way he did when taking down a dangerous suspect. Peterson was screaming, trying to push the dog away, but Rex held on with grim determination. Jackson was radioing for backup and an ambulance while Martinez fought to pull Rex away. It took both officers and a neighbor who came running with a water hose to finally get the dog to release his grip. That's when they saw it. As Peterson's sleeve tore away, a syringe fell from his jacket pocket and rolled across the concrete, then another, then a small plastic baggie containing what looked like pills. Martinez stared at the items, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. "Mr. Peterson," she said slowly, "can you explain what these are?" Peterson was clutching his bleeding arm, his face pale with shock and pain. But Rex was still agitated, circling Peterson and barking, his nose working frantically. The dog's behavior was telling Martinez everything she needed to know. "Jackson," she said quietly, "call for backup and tell them to bring a search warrant." Agent Torres arrived within 20 minutes, along with a full forensics team and additional officers. Peterson was in an ambulance receiving medical attention, but he wasn't going anywhere, not with Rex's clear reaction and the suspicious items found on him. "Your dog just saved our investigation," Torres told Martinez as they watched technicians process the scene. "We were looking at this all wrong. Peterson wasn't a witness, he was our suspect." The search of Peterson's house revealed a basement that looked nothing like the rest of his carefully maintained home. The walls were soundproofed. There were 3 small beds, restraints, and a stockpile of sedatives and other drugs. Most chilling of all, there was a detailed map of the neighborhood with children's schedules marked in different colors. "He's been watching them for months," Torres explained grimly. "Planning this, the early morning abduction was his trial run, testing response times and protocols. They found the children in a storage unit across town, sedated but alive. Tommy, Lisa, and Jake were rushed to the hospital, where doctors confirmed they would make full recoveries. Peterson had planned to hold them for several days before." Torres didn't finish that sentence. Later, as Martinez sat in the hospital waiting room while the children were reunited with their families, she kept thinking about Rex's behavior over the past 3 weeks. The dog had been trying to tell her something all along. How did he know? Jackson asked, echoing her thoughts. "I mean, Peterson seemed so normal, so helpful." Martinez looked down at Rex, who was lying calmly at her feet for the first time in hours. "Dogs smell things we can't," she said. "Fear, stress, deception. But this was more than that." Agent Torres joined them, looking exhausted but relieved. "We found Peterson's computer," she said. "He's been doing this for years, moving from town to town, always the helpful neighbor, always willing to assist with searches when children went missing. We're working with other jurisdictions now to see how many cases we can connect to him." "And if Rex hadn't attacked him?" Martinez asked. Torres was quiet for a moment. "Those kids would probably be dead by now, and Peterson would have helped us search for them, gaining our trust while planning his next move." The story broke on the national news that evening. DC9 hero saves 3 children by attacking kidnapper. Rex became an overnight sensation, receiving mail from children across the country and even a call from the governor's office. But for Martinez, the real victory was simpler. 3 families got their children back because her partner had refused to ignore his instincts, even when the human world told him he was wrong. A week later, Martinez was walking Rex through a different neighborhood when they passed a playground full of children. Rex's tail wagged as kids ran up to pet him, their parents smiling and taking photos with the hero dog. One little girl, probably about 7 years old, hugged Rex's neck and whispered something in his ear. When she stepped back, she looked up at Martinez with serious brown eyes. "What did you tell him?" Martinez asked gently. "I said thank you for protecting kids like me," the girl replied. "My mummy says dogs can smell bad people, even when they pretend to be good." Martinez smiled, scratching Rex behind the ears. "Your mummy's right. Dogs are pretty smart that way." As they continued their patrol, Martinez reflected on everything that had happened. Peterson was in custody, facing federal charges that would likely keep him in prison for the rest of his life. The 3 children were back home, safe with their families, and Rex was back to his normal, alert self, no longer carrying the stress of a threat that only he could detect. The incident had taught Martinez something important about the partnership between humans and dogs in law enforcement. It wasn't just about the dogs' training or their ability to detect drugs or track suspects. It was about trust, trusting that sometimes animals know things we don't, see things we miss, and feel things we can't understand. Rex had known Peterson was dangerous weeks before any human suspected a thing. The dog's behavior wasn't aggression or territorial anxiety, it was protection. He was protecting the children in the neighborhood, the only way he knew how, by trying to keep his handler away from the threat. When that wasn't enough, when children actually went missing, and Peterson positioned himself as a helpful witness, Rex had taken more decisive action. He had done what police dogs are trained to do. He had apprehended a dangerous suspect. The fact that the suspect was hiding behind a mask of neighborly kindness didn't matter to Rex. The dog had smelled the truth beneath the lie, had sensed the danger beneath the smile, and had acted accordingly. Martinez made a mental note to never doubt her partner's instincts again. In a world where evil could hide behind friendly waves and magic tricks, sometimes it took the pure, honest senses of a dog to cut through the deception and protect the innocent. That night, as Martinez filled out the final paperwork on the case, Rex slept peacefully at her feet. For the first time in weeks, he wasn't on edge, wasn't scanning for threats. The danger was gone, and he knew it. Martinez looked down at her partner and smiled. "Good boy, Rex," she whispered. "You saved them all." Rex's tail thumped once against the floor, even in sleep. He was just doing his job, protecting the pack, keeping the children safe. It was what good dogs did, what good partners did. And in Millbrook Heights, 3 families would never forget the German Shepherd who saw through a predator's disguise and refused to let him hurt their children. Rex wasn't just a police dog, he was their guardian angel with 4 paws and an unshakable sense of right and wrong.